This is Good Evenings, Lindsay. It's September 10th, 2025, and I'm just doing a video, a voice recording to talk about what they did today. I'm going to talk about what happened yesterday as a targeted person undergoing a massive smear campaign throughout the city or throughout the neighborhood. And no, I'm not exaggerating. You can laugh and think it's funny all you want, but I'm speaking the truth. And here's what happened the other day. So since these people monitor everything I do, they monitor when I leave this house, they monitor my phone, my computer, and I suspect that there's most definitely hidden surveillance cameras in this house. And this is all obviously because I'm retaliating against what they did to me throughout that whole probate case, and I've been fighting back against these people for what the damages that they did, not only monetary as far as using coercive abuse to get me to spend money when, to try to be a certain way, to look a certain way. They'll try to get you to bombard you with all these fucking ads to try to make you feel ugly or stupid, or that you better do this or buy that, or else you can't go to such and such place. And this is what they really do. I know that sounds like, well, then you should just be strong enough to just ignore that. No, when you're being bombarded by these fucking ads on your home computer every day, every time you watch a YouTube video or whatever, and since I'm a content creator, then yes, they will definitely cater to what to ads to fuck with you and harass you and to try to make you, to piss you off, basically, by invading your privacy. And that's what they do to me all the time. And of course they do it, like I'll be listening to a YouTube video and then all of a sudden there's some fucking interruption about some pink salt weight loss shit or some crap like that with Oprah, whatever the fuck her name is, Oprah Winfrey or something like that, whatever. And that all of a sudden I start getting bombarded with those goddamn pink salt ads. When I bought some pink salt, Himalayan pink salt at the dollar store, the Dollar Tree, which was several months ago, okay? And then I put this pink salt lamp that I have over here on my chest of drawers, this armoire thing. So that's not an accident. That's an example of how they monitor and spy and do things accordingly. And you think that I'm just making that up? You think I'm too dumb to figure out how these people, how they use ads to try to target people? And it's common sense, okay? So these people still seem to think that I can't catch on to what they're doing, that I don't connect the dots or see the patterns to all their manipulative harassments, discriminatory, blatant things that they do to mess with me. And it's like, wow, it's like you can react in a way that you can either get really mad at these people and start screaming at them and causing a scene, or you can just ignore them. Or you can react in a way that will throw them off completely, their script, by being nice or but I still see what they're doing, and to me it's just a bunch of petty, immature behavior that people do that people are who are just bullies, and they just don't, it's like they don't know any better. And but for them to go out of their way to do these vindictive smear campaigns and whatnot simply because I speak out against because I expose things about Freemasonry and some of their little dirty secrets about these secret societies and whatnot. And so, of course, I make people mad because I speak the truth, and I've been through this stuff myself. I've had to see it, go through it, and fight it. And so they don't like, they hate that because they've made some kind of an oath or pledge to something of which I obviously didn't, because I'm not part of that. Thank God. I'm not part of any cult. I'm not part of any secret society, and I'm not part of any organized religion. And so therefore, I guess it seems that they see me as a threat, because if you're not part of something of a hierarchy that's part of a food chain control, there's got to be somebody at the top, and there's got to be all their little minions and their fucking gang-stalking flying monkeys and the head narcissist at the top. If you're not part of that, but you're a witness to it, and you expose it, and you document it, well, then you're really a threat to these people because you don't partake in their gossip. You don't partake in what they do to other people who they target when they target people, but you see it for what it is because you yourself have experienced it. And I'm talking about myself here. I have experienced it to know how to validate it and to talk about it. And I am a leader type personality. I'm not a fucking follower. Other cultures, for example, when it comes to blood type and leading followers as opposed to leaders, there's just about every single culture except the Western society, I'd say, but other cultures know good and well that blood type is important when it comes to personality traits. You can talk to Japanese people, you can talk to Chinese people of Chinese, Asian descent, and they'll tell you that they know about blood type and personality traits. And but other people, if you talk about that in this society, in the United States, they look at you like you're fucking crazy. If you so much as bring up something about like, well, by the way, what's your blood type out of curiosity, or what's your astrological sign? They get offended. They're like, why? What? They don't, because they don't understand, or they're so close-minded that they think that it's like they don't understand that like blood type is a big deal. That's who you are. That's your lineage. That's your DNA running through your veins. And I have O negative blood type. I'm a natural leader type person. I'm a teacher naturally. I'm not a fucking follower. I don't do well in classrooms. I don't do well sitting behind a fucking goddamn desk in a classroom, sitting there wasting time listening to some boring whatever when I can do it myself and research things and learn in my own kind of way. And they always try to get me to take more courses. Like, oh, what do you do with your time? And they don't understand that I teach, I learn, and I go in my own kind of way. I've already done the whole fucking school thing. I'm not going back to school to get a fucking master's degree or a PhD because I don't want to. I get kicked out or drop out or fail out. At this stage in my life, it's not something that I'm going to do or want to do. I'm not opposed to taking little courses here and there online to get a certificate that you pay a little bit of money. But you know what? Honestly, all the shit that they teach is stuff that I can look up myself, and I don't have to take a course. And I don't like being around other people when I learn because I do it my own way, at my own pace. And this is what makes people mad. It is because when you do things on your own and you don't go with the flow of other people and you just you do it on your own way, this is what makes them anxious and nervous, because they don't like it when somebody challenges the system. It's very easy to understand when you observe these people and how they behave and how you know who you are, and or maybe you know how your personality is, and so they get offended. Simply put, people get easily offended by what they don't comprehend or what they can't understand because it's not written in stone. And most people, especially when you're in some kind of a corporate setting, which I fucking can't stand. I'm sorry, I don't do well in corporate jobs. I've been there, done that. I get fucking fired or end up quitting because I'm not a fucking corporate-minded person. I can understand it. I can play the role, if you want to call it that. Like, I know how to behave in that kind of setting, but I'm not that. That's not my mindset. I have to be in my own environment to learn. I have to do things my way. And if these people, for example, at a corporate gym, which is a corporation, it's a gym, like Gold's Gym, if they want to sit there and fucking mock me and stare at me like I'm some kind of a goddamn, but they're obviously, because I do whatever I do my own kind of way. I don't follow a little book of rules or the way you're supposed to do certain things. And so they just look at me, some of these people, and they just laugh at me when I'm not trying to do anything. I'm not trying to bother anybody. I just want to go about doing what I'm doing. And it's like, unfortunately, at these goddamn gyms where I go to use these certain machines that I like a elliptical or treadmill or whatever the fuck it is. Sometimes it's just different things, or they get, because these people are part of some kind of, a lot of these people, they are very hive-minded. They're structural, military, hive mind. They have to do things like exactly the way that you're supposed to, I guess. And I don't do things. I'm not a fucking part of your matrix. Okay, I stepped out of the fucking matrix a long time ago. I'm not part of any fucking hot matrix, follow orders. It's just not in my DNA to be that way. I can't help it. It's not who I am. And so, of course, they gang stalk me and hate me because I'm different. I'm different. Simply put, I'm different. And this has been going on my entire life, pretty much. It's just, that's how people are. And quite frankly, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit what the fuck they think. I've learned to just accept myself and love myself for who I am and fuck what these people think. I don't care. So yesterday, I'm going to talk about something that happened yesterday. This is a clear example of gang stalking or monitoring. I decided in the afternoon I was going to go out, get out of the house for a little bit and go to the park or to this area that has to go for a little walk at this little community center thing down the fucking street. And you know what? I live in this neighborhood. I live in Denver Heights. As a matter of fact, I live on Denver Boulevard. I have every right to go to the fucking community center and go for a walk down the street if I want to. Why not? I'm a member of the community, aren't I? Yeah, so anyway, I went over there. I parked my car in a little place across the street, some place called 360, some kind of outreach place, but there was no cars parked in the parking lot, so I figured, there's no services going on here, so I can park my car here. It's not going to be a problem. Whatever. So I did that, and I had to use, I believe, I went to use the bathroom inside the community center called Denver Heights Community Center. And all of a sudden, I've been going there for a while, sometimes to go for a little walk, sometimes. And I've noticed that in the past month, they've all of a sudden added a library that wasn't there before. So all of a sudden, they start making these changes. As soon as, for whatever reason, it seems that if I start going to a place and I go inside, the next thing you know, they either start remodeling it, they start adding things, they'll add a library. None of this was there before. The Carver Library was not there before. There was not a library there. And all of a sudden there is. Okay, that was not there a month or 2 months ago. And so it's just kind of strange how that happens and how all of a sudden these things just start popping up and appearing when I start going to these places and frequenting or going there on a somewhat regular basis, I've noticed. And it's just like, well, I'm kind of like, why is that always going on in my life? Like, why is it that every time I start going to a gym, things start happening? The neighborhood I live in, it's always the way it is. And I don't think that that's just some random coincidence. I really don't. I think there's fucking surveillance cameras all over the place there, by the way. So they watch everything, and I had to go use a bathroom, and they made me sign in to go use the bathroom. He had me sign. I had to sign some fucking form, something just to go pee. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll sign the fucking thing. I was nice, but I was like, this is fucking ridiculous, I'm just going in there to go use a bathroom. He's like, you have to sign. What are you gonna do? Ask me for my fucking driver's license and interrogate me next time? I'm thinking, shit, it's like I live in the fucking community. You want to see my driver's license so you can see my address? It's right down the fucking street, sir. They treat me like it's just a bizarre treatment that I get. And I honestly don't give a shit what they think because I'm not doing anything. I'm not bothering anybody. I'm just going for a fucking walk and happen to use a fucking bathroom in the community center. Okay? I'm not doing a goddamn thing. Whatever they think it is that I'm doing, it's wrong. It's erroneous if they think that. But it seems like they do. Or they do this stage bullshit. Because yesterday, and then I started continuing to go for a walk, walking down the little sidewalk thing. And this guy, across the street, there's this man in black, like Adidas kind of jogger pants, and then a white t-shirt and a baseball cap. And he's just standing there on the corner saying, hey, And he's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. What, are you okay? I said, are you okay? And we were just talking from across the street. And then he crosses the street and we start talking. He's like, well, what are you doing? I said, I'm going for a walk. He's like, well, how long have you been here? I said, I just got here, 10 minutes ago or 15 minutes ago, whatever. And he's like, how many times around do you go, or how many laps do you do? I said, I don't know. It just depends on my mood, or it just varies. He kind of was interrogating me. He was being subtle about it, but it was clearly a setup. Now that and I was like, there's something kind of weird about this, because it was very, parts of it were very unnatural. He was nice, but he was a little bit too friendly. And he started saying, complimenting me on my hair. He liked my hair color. He liked my my socks. He liked my shorts. And he was like saying that I had a nice body or something, and that I was very pretty or attractive. And I said, well, thank you. I said, you're flooding me with all these compliments, and I'm just kind of like, where is this coming from? It's like somebody obviously sent you to do this. This never happens to me. This is weird. This seems kind of strange. And it's like, yeah, of course, this doesn't happen to me, where some random guy starts just flooding me with all these compliments and asking me all these questions like I'm, it's like, what in the world? And then I asked him why. He's like, well, what's your name and where are you from and where do you live? And he's like, well, I'm so-and-so and I live on Pine Street. And I said, are you from San Antonio? He said, yes, Bandera or something. I said, okay. And I said, how long have you been here in this neighborhood? He said, 2 months. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, well, what do you do? He said something about pizza. He said something about working as a chef, making pizza. And I said, oh, that's cool. That's fun. I was like, okay. And the guy's a good look, the guy's a decent enough, attractive man. But he's kept saying, oh, I need to get a haircut. And I was like, I said, yeah, you have nice, I told him, I said, yeah, you have, because he complimented me on my hair. I had my hair down, and I was like, you know what? I didn't have it. It was just down and whatever. I don't want to go on, but it was almost like it was being sarcastic. I couldn't tell if he was being sarcastic or not, because he almost sounded like the way he talked, he kind of sounded like he was a little bit feminine. Like maybe, I was like, maybe this guy's gay. He kind of talked like he kind of had the mannerisms of a homosexual. And I was like, well, it doesn't matter if he is or not, because he's friendly. But I couldn't tell, and I wasn't going to ask him. I was about to ask him. I was like, by the way, are you straight? Are you bisexual? Are you homosexual? I'm just curious, because I kind of have a feeling that you might be homosexual or bisexual. I didn't say that, but I was thinking that, because of the way he was so carrying on about my shoes and my socks and my hair. And that's what gay men do. That's how homosexuals usually behave towards women when they're nervous, I've noticed, or if they're trying to hide their sexuality. And I've just noticed, because that has happened to me before, and it reminds me of a few people who I know who do that, who've done that to me, and they try to lure you into the next thing you know, you get entangled in a trap of something. So you have to be kind of careful. And I'm not saying, because it was all like the weirdest shit was happening there yesterday. Then this guy, as I was walking, right before that guy showed up, I was walking past the center on the sidewalk, this little playground area, and these men, this Hispanic guy with long hair and some other, they had something right there in the middle of the sidewalk that they were messing with, something that they had taken out of their vehicle, some kind of SUV, and they had it right there planted right in the middle of the sidewalk. And so I walked around it, but they both looked at me. One of them they both had dark hair. One of them had kind of long hair, and he was dressed in black, some Hispanic guy. And the other guy was just some other dude who was helping him. And then I watched this woman, when I had gone into the bathroom, though, that's when I went into the locker room to use the restroom. There was a woman in there who these men were with, I think, and she was like wearing a dress. She had dark hair pulled back, and I think she had a child with her. I think she had some baby toddler with her. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't I just was like, so what? It's a community center. People bring their children, or they have a basketball court there, so kids go play basketball, I guess, teenagers. There's a library, and there's another room. I don't know. I guess they're having some kind of dance class or some sort of class for children. I think that it had to do with dance, because these little girls were wearing dance leotards, I noticed. So I was like, okay, cool. It's a little community center. There's a lot of action going on here, and that's fine. It's kind of, I'm not part of it, but I can be a bystander and watch it. I mean, I wasn't even I just saw that all that was going on inside from the 5 minutes that I was in there to go use the bathroom. That's it. There's a lot of commotion going on, and then outside the little stuff was going on, and then that guy, it's like all these distractions, and it's like, what the fuck? Because that guy started asking me all kinds of questions, and he was like asking me all these questions. I'm like, why is he just being friendly, or is he just interrogating me? Because it literally kind of felt like it was a setup. I was like, there's something about this where the guy was sent here by somebody. It's like he's sent by somebody to kind of monitor me. Because he was like, well, can I walk with you? And then he was asking me, do I live alone? I said, yes. And I was like, why are you asking me all these questions? He's like, well, where do you live? I said, I live down the street, a couple blocks from here. He's like, well, where? I said, down the street. And he said, well, I want to see your house. I said, well, I'm he kept implying that he wanted to go to my house. And I didn't invite him to my house. I wasn't about to invite him over, okay? I don't know the guy. He seemed nice. He was educated, he seemed to be. But he had a white styrofoam cup. He said he had just gotten off the bus. Maybe he just got off work or something. And he was on his way back home. And he said that he lives with some guys in a house on Pine Street. And I was like, okay, cool. And then he was asking me if I party, if I like to go out, and what do I do for fun? I said, I don't really go out much. I've been there, done. I said, yeah, I like to go out sometimes, but I'm not into the whole drinking a bunch of alcohol, party, drug scene. I've been there, done that, I told him. Back when I was younger, I went through those phases. So I can have a couple drinks and that's it. I'm not into that. I'm 50 years old. And this guy's only 35 years old, okay? It's like, and I'm not going to lie to people. Why do I need, I'm not going to lie and say, oh yeah, let's go, because he's in a let's go hook up and let's go get drunk and fornicate at some, you want to come over and let me invite you over, and because I know that one thing leads to another with people. I know how this kind of thing works if you're not careful and if you don't have your mind set straight. The next thing you know, he's asking if he can come to my house and let's go get some wine or some beer. And then that's how that kind of stuff happens. Because this is what people do. They might appear to be really normal and nice and have good manners, but sometimes these people are hiding some kind of an addiction that you don't know. They might have an alcohol addiction, a drug addiction, or something. And I'm just saying it seemed a little bit odd. Like there's something that this guy clearly was going through or had just gone through, and that he was trying to hide it, but I could feel the energy because he was I could tell that he was very lonely. He wanted some company and he wanted somebody to listen to him. So I was trying to be a nice person and listen to him and not be judgmental, but it's clear that he had an agenda. And it was almost like just some kind of a test to see how I reacted. But me being so straightforward and honest, I'm not going to, it's like, okay, well, ask me whatever the hell you want, and I'm going to tell you the truth. But he was asking me things like if I'm single, if I have a boyfriend. I said, no, I don't have a boyfriend. I've been single for a while. I was in a weird kind of situation that lasted for about 2.5 years, but that's over. And it was just awkward, I told him. I didn't go into detail. I just said it was a setup, and it was very awkward, and I was being exploited. I think I told him about that much, and that was it. Because I'm not going to, I don't know the man well enough to tell him things. And, but he said that, yeah, he just broke up with somebody a couple months ago, or they just broke up, he and his girlfriend. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I know how it's like, but it's okay to be alone. I said, you know what? I said, He said, don't you get lonely? I said, no, I like being by myself. And he said, do you like living? I said, don't you want to live with somebody? I said, no, I like living by myself, and I like being single right now. I like being by myself. I like living alone. It's like he seemed shocked. Some people don't understand that some people like to live by themselves. They like to do things on their own. They're not that outgoing. I'm not an extrovert. I'm an introvert. I don't need to explain myself, over-explain myself to anybody because I know my personality type. But I can adapt, and I can be personable with people, and I can be communicative and a good listener, but I still know who I am and how I am and how to behave, you know? I think these people they have some kind of wrong idea about me because of whatever has been said about me by these jackasses from my past, because I exposed their fucking horrendous abuse and psychological abuse. So it's like, if I go out in public, especially around this neighborhood, because it's like people, they know something about, they know me. They don't know me, but they know about me. Let's just put it that way. They seem to know, like if I go to the post office, they seem to know things about me. If I go to the grocery store, the HEB in the neighborhood, they kind of know who I am. It's like they just do this unnecessary monitoring of myself. And I'm not saying they're all out to get me, that they're all evil, bad people. No, I'm not saying that. But it seems like certain people definitely are keeping their eye out on me or on me for whatever reason. It's like, okay, whatever, you can watch all the fuck you want, but I'm still just living my life and I'm not doing anything that's out of the ordinary. Maybe to you it is, but to me it's not. So continue. Enjoy yourselves, because I'm not going to stop living my life just because somebody doesn't like something about me. Fuck that. Oh, and another thing, he was asking about music. We were talking about music. He asked me what kind of music I listen to, and I told him some examples of what I like. Not band names, but I think I maybe did mention a couple band names. And he said he likes rock. And then he said, he was kind of a strange guy. Strange, but not in a bad, just kind of weird, one of these types of characters who I don't quite know what to, he didn't fit. It's like it kind of reminded me of how I was when I first moved to this area, coming from Houston and being thrown into that situation on Canton Street. I just went into shock. I was like, this is so fucking different from what I'm used to in Houston, that I was in shell shock. I was in a state of shock because whenever I'd go for a walk, I'd get attacked by dogs, and I still do. Or people would just harass me, ask, like it was horrible, the stuff that I was going through. And that I still, for those several years of living in that, over there on Canton Street, it's just like, so in a way I felt like maybe this guy is, he said he lived in he's from West San Antonio. I think Bandera is either a street name, it's a street name, but it also might be a smaller suburb of San Antonio. There might be a city called Bandera, or it's a street, I know that for sure, but it's out west part of San Antonio. So maybe if he's only been here a few months, he's just not used to it. I was like, yeah, I've been here for like 10 years. I know what it's like in this neighborhood. Don't be deceived. I'm thinking, but whatever. He's from San Antonio, supposedly. So, but he didn't seem like it. He seemed like the type of person who was completely from out of state. He didn't seem like a local San Antonio person at all. And I was like, this guy he just appeared out of nowhere. It was really weird. And the way he was looking at me, it's like, it was just like, it's like one of those encounters that had to happen. That was supposed to happen. If you know what I'm talking about. It's like, for whatever reason, I had to talk to him and he had to talk to me. It was just something that had to happen. But for whatever reason, I don't know exactly why, who sent him. But it was one of those it was one of those synchronized things. It was not just a coincidence. It was not just a coincidence. Because then, whenever we were he walked around with me for like several laps on that thing, like probably about 3 laps, and we were just talking, having a good conversation about just different things. And then as he was like, it all of a sudden, whenever like we stopped in the sidewalk for a while, and then those Hispanic guys, just came from an angle in the yard of that community center. They just started walking right towards me, right towards us, and just walked right past. It was really weird, but that whole thing, it's like they knew each other. It's like he knew. It seemed like they all knew each other, like those two knew each other, the way that whole little orchestrated thing happened. And I'm thinking that was kind of strange. That was interesting. But so, you see, it's like they put me, these people who do the gang stalking, I'm not going to call this guy a gang stalker because I didn't even bring up anything about targeted individuals, but I did, but it's possible that he saw the sticker on my car, the bumper sticker that talks about organized stalking. It's possible that this was all orchestrated. Like I said, I had my car parked over at the 360 community center thing, outreach place. That's where my car was parked. So I have a feeling that this whole little scenario was very much orchestrated. And that's an example of community stalking. And then there's police that were driving by. There's all this weird shit that was happening as I was walking around with that man who I had just met for the first time. Just met him. And his name was very, he has a name that's kind of like his name, he's not Mexican or Hispanic, but he's got a name of European. He's a European descent person, German, and he said in Scottish, English or something. But his name is a name, the first name is a name that I can relate, that goes way back in my past, his first name. But his last name was even more unusual. I'm thinking, wow, that's an unusual name. I'm not going to say his name right now. I won't say it, but I'll probably never hear from But he was asking for my phone number. He wanted my phone number. And I was like, well, do you have a phone? I'll just tell you what it is and you can put it in your phone or something. He didn't have a phone with him. But I went to my car and wrote down my phone number because he wanted my phone number. He said, well, make sure you give me your phone number. I was like, okay. So I gave him my phone number. And I wrote it down on a piece of paper and gave it to him. But I'm thinking, should I have even given him my phone number? Like what, I don't, sometimes I'm too, no big deal. I did. I felt like he was trustworthy enough. There was something about him that was weird that I couldn't quite place my finger on, that it seemed like it was orchestrated, but at the same time, he didn't seem like like an evil, bad person. He seemed like a smart, educated man who wasn't, he just seemed like a person who's kind of like myself, curious to talk to some people and just, you know what I mean? I could kind of see that he's new to the area, fairly new, and he probably just wants to meet new people and make new friends. And he's a younger man. He's only in his 30s. He's 35, or so he says. So, whatever. I get it. No big deal. But I'm 50 years old. I don't have tolerance for bullshit games. And he didn't. Some of these younger men. It's funny because I do get hit on. If I do get hit on at all, which is very rare. But if I do, I've noticed that a lot of times the men are like sometimes 20 years younger than me, 25 years younger than me, 15 years younger than myself. And it's like, well, it's kind of flattering, but at the same time, it's like I don't take it seriously because I know that, I'm not going to, come on, at that age, why would I want to get involved seriously with a man who's 30 or 35 or even 40 years old? 45 would be the cutoff age for me. Or 39, maybe 42, but no younger than that would I get intimately involved with any man. It's just not going to happen. It wouldn't happen because I have my boundaries and I have my, I have my boundaries set. So it's very difficult. I'm not desperately looking for a partner. I'm not desperate to jump into any kind of situationship or relationship right now at all. I'm just enjoying my time alone and, whatever, and doing just okay, quite well actually for myself. I think I'm feeling okay, but it's okay to, I'm not opposed to the idea of talking to new people and meeting some new people and maybe going out on a date here and there, but honestly, It's whatever happens in my life, I'm okay with it, as far as like being single the rest of my life, which is probably what will happen, and I'm okay with that too, because I don't really, all these past relationships that I've gone through have all been clearly set up fake. Like that last horrible situation was clearly, the asshole was being paid to fucking be a handler. I mean, that was horrible. And I'll get over it. I'm over it, but I'm still shocked at what happened. I'm over it. I don't care about that person. I don't care what he's doing, but I'm still shocked that I had to go through that they actually went so far as to abuse me to that extent psychologically. That's what's so shocking, is that the extent that these gang stalkers and government jackass people will do, perverts or whatever will do to try to destroy somebody. It's amazing that people really will go to, because they hate you that much in the community, that they'll do that. When I never did anything to that asshole. Or they get the entire fucking community to go against one person just because they don't like you or because you expose them for their fucked up shit. And you know what? So what? It's about time, right? It's about time, because if you remain silent about what other people try to do when you're not doing anything, but they have a problem with you for no fucking reason, well, yeah, you should expose it and talk about it. Why not? Because usually these people are predators if they do that. If they're going to find you on the internet, I found that there are some decent men on dating sites, don't get me wrong. In my years of being on dating sites, I've met a few really nice men on there who are decent men, I think. A few. But for the most part, they're a bunch of fucking predators. They're hiding lies. A lot of them have a lot of secrets that they are trying to run away from. They are looking for somebody who's going to be their mediator. They're looking for someone who's going to validate the fact that they have some issues that are a little bit, some of these things are a little bit like, okay, you spent 15 years in prison. Okay, well, we can still be friends. I'll give you a chance. Some of these men, just because they spent some time in prison, okay, or they have a DWI, okay, or they have a domestic violence, I don't know about that. I try to stay away from that. But if they have a DWI, I'm just saying that I get targeted a lot by a lot of men that have some serious some serious shit in their record, okay? Everything from prison sentences to murder convictions, multiple DWIs, drug offenses, and I've dealt with all that over the years. Lots of that over my entire life of dating. And I've looked at some of these guys, I'll look beyond it because I want to see who they are as a person, and I give them a chance. But whenever they start to reveal their true colors and that control freak asshole comes out in them, the predator type stalker person who is all about power and control and abuse, then that's when I walk away and I end it. And sometimes they'll try to drag you in and lure you in and keep on messing with your emotions because they want to control people. A lot of these men, they're controlling, they're abusive, they're psychologically abusive, and they do happen to a lot of the times work for the government or police or military, or they have some kind of position of authority of which they feel that they can belittle and mock and exploit people who are, in their opinion, or to them, you're vulnerable or you're weak or you're this or you're that. But they don't even really know you. Until they get to know you, they can judge all they want, but they don't really know you well enough to really know what you've gone through, what you've battled, and your scars, and what you've had to conquer. So I these days I've been through so much and I've conquered so much that now my extra shield of protection is my own God, that I feel everywhere I go. I feel protection kind of shielding me that's invisible, but it's there. That's how I feel. And I feel like as long as I have that mindset when I'm out in public, when I'm at the gym, whatever, I just imagine that I'm being protected by some kind of a force that's beyond my, some kind of spiritual entity that's looking out for me. And it's there to, like a barrier, to protect me from this kinds of from things that bad things that could potentially happen. It's like that little voice in my head that's going to remind me that, Lindsay, don't do that, don't say that, or don't do that. It's like a little, not a voice in my head, but it's something there that I'm reminded of to help guide me. Because I'm alone, I'm single, I don't have kids, I'm not married, I don't have any family, and I've accepted that. And I have to be, it's a lot of burden for me to take on other people's problems when I have to deal with my own. It's not, I do everything for myself. I pay my fucking bills. I cook my food. I go to the store. I don't have anybody doing it. I get help. When I do get help, I fucking pay somebody to mow my fucking grass or whatever. I don't expect anybody to do shit for free. I never have. I've always been very nice to people who help me, but they fucking turn around and do some shit because whatever reason sometimes, and so you let them go. I'm just used to people coming and going out of my life, so it's no big deal. People come and go all the time, and I've got thousands of people throughout my life that have come and gone and disappeared, and I have no fucking idea where they are at all. I don't keep track of all the people who have come and gone out of my life. It's impossible. There's way too many of them. So, I do have a lot of experience with people and jobs and talking to people, random people. I've got yes, I do, but I'm not here to validate people and be your stepping stone or your fucking doormat because you need a place to sleep or you need a ride home. I'm not your fucking Uber. I'm not your, I have to be more discerning. I have to be more cautious. That's my problem, is being a little bit too friendly to sometimes the wrong kinds of people that have the wrong ideas. And that's what I've had to learn the hard way, the difficult way throughout my experiences in life, is that you just can't, even though people can be very charming and kind, they might be very attractive, they might have the right clothing, the right car, they talk the talk, they walk the walk, they've got something about them that's very alluring. But then there's something you have to pay attention to, that intuition that might be warning you about people whenever they do something or they come across as being too friendly. And so when I went to the gym this morning, I went to the gym at the, later on in the morning, I went to the Goliad place. And as soon as I walk in the door, they're already doing the street theater shit, the what they call the direct conversation crap, okay? I walk in there, and there's this girl, and by the way, yesterday I mentioned something to that man, because he asked me, somehow the topic of gyms came up. I didn't tell him I go to Gold's Gym, but I did remember when we said goodbye, he said, have a good one. And that's what the people at Gold's Gym, they'll always say that. They say, have a good one. They don't always say that, but they've trained their employees as you're walking out the door, have a good one, they'll say sometimes. So whenever we were departing ways, he said, when he walked away from my car, he said, have a good one. I said, yeah, you too, thank you. I'm like, have a good one. Oh, do you work at Gold's Gym? Are you sent out by Gold's Gym, perhaps? I'm thinking, it crossed my mind. You never know. He kind of looked, and ironically enough, the more I think about it, he kind of looked like the same guy who back in 2016 at some point, in 2016 or 17 when I started going to that Goliad location, there was some man, he walked in there and took a photograph of me and walked out. He looked like that guy. He kind of reminded me of that same man. Whatever reason, at that Goliad gym, and I think it was around 2017, some man walked in there, and basically all he did was walked in there and took some pictures of me with his cell phone and then walked out. And he kind of looked like that guy. He sort of reminded me of him. I'm thinking, wow. And that's what I first started. I was like, why does this guy look familiar? And I'm thinking, because I don't really forget a face that easily. Whenever I see a face, sometimes I don't know, but he kind of he looked like that man, that guy. And that guy was like a young guy who did that. And I remember that very vividly. that happened to me at that Gold's Gym on Goliad. Someone just randomly walked in there and took pictures of me with their cell phone and then walked out when I was on the treadmill. No, I think I was on the elliptical. I was actually on the elliptical machine. I remember that very well. And I was like, what was that about? And why did that man do that? What is that? Why did that happen? I was thinking. When I went to the Goliad gym this morning, Gold's Gym, they was already prepared. They were waiting for me to do the little act shit. This guy and I told him about I said, there's a YM, because he said something about gym. We talked about, I said, so you do go to a gym? He said, no, not yet. I said, well, there is a YMCA around here that's pretty good. They just remodeled it. It's got nice equipment. And I mentioned that, and he said, oh, okay. I said, yeah, it's close by. I think it's on Idaho or Iowa Street or something. So I told him about YMCA over here in the neighborhood. And then I get there this morning, and there's this woman at the fucking front desk and somebody else who's an employee. This girl who I've seen at the YMCA, I think she works there at the YMCA, or she did for a while work at the YMCA on Roosevelt Street, okay? She's this girl who's kind of shorter statured woman. I don't know how old she is, but she's very, she's kind of priss-pot acting, like sort of pretentious behavior. She was saying something about, and she's always like, she just seems really pretentious, for not very approachable. Something about her just seems kind of like, I don't know, for whatever reason, she just is that way towards me. So I've never had a conversation with her because she just seems real stuck up kind of. And I'm like, I don't want to be around. I try to avoid those kinds of people because of the way they behave. I'm not interested in being part of that fucking drama at the gym. She was wearing she was wearing her little halter top, and she's wearing her pants, and it was all exposing her midriff area. And she's got her hair down, and she's leaning at the front desk, talking to the girl. She's like, oh yeah, well, I would never date him, something like that. She was saying, oh yeah, well, of course I would never date him. Something like that. They were having a conversation. They were just giggling. And then as I was walking, I made eye contact with the woman who works there. I think she's a manager who seems like a mature woman, probably, I don't know how old, but she's a mature lady, and I did meet her, or I introduced myself to her a few days ago, and she's a nice, I actually, now that I've met her and talked to her, I like her. I talked to her barely, and I've introduced myself, and I like her. She seems like a mature woman who is just something about her that I don't know her, but I feel like she's, I like her. I like her as a someone who works at the gym. She seems like a good manager to me. And I'm glad that they have a female manager there, quite honestly. As long as I'm going to keep going there, good. They need a female manager like that. So I like her. She's an attractive lady. She has, she seems like a nice, well-educated or very professional lady. So she works there. She's a manager at the gym, and her name's Kelly. That much I know. And all the other employees, I don't know any of these people. I don't recognize any of these people who work there behind the desk. There's another man named JD. I know that's his first name. I don't know him at all. None of the same. They don't have any of the same staff who they had back in 2017 or whatever. When all the people are different except David is still there. The maintenance guy, I believe, is still there. The janitor, they all, like I said, these gyms have a high turnover rate. Almost all the Gold's gyms, they have like an extremely high turnover rate, I think. People coming and going all the time, and it's understandable for that kind of environment. But I've been to enough of them to know, and I pay attention to the employees and the janitors and the people who work there. And the janitor lady, she seems very young, some Hispanic. I don't know if she speaks English or not, probably not. I don't know. But she seems kind of, she seems nice and friendly, but she's That's all. I don't know. She looks like she's probably from Central America, maybe Mexico. I do not know for sure. And I don't know her name. So that's about all I know of the staff at this place. I don't know any of there's another, there's some, they're friendly. They seem nice enough, but the girl behind the desk today, I don't know her. And after that gossiping shit with that girl who works at some point I think worked at the YMCA. I don't know if she still does. I don't want to get involved. I'm not going to start going up there and start, I was like, I just stay to myself. I don't want to get involved with all the gossip stuff that can go on at these places. I really don't. I'm too old for that. I don't have the patience for that kind of shit at any gym. I just don't. I will not partake in that stuff. I say not a word to anybody. I don't say a fucking word to anybody. And that's the way I have to continue if I just don't. I don't want to talk to people there after. No, I just refuse. I stay to myself. I will stay to myself. That's how it will have to be if I go there. If I continue to go there.